Okay guys, today I'm going to show you how to create a contained database in SQL Server 2014. So basically it is very simple. Uh, for contained databases, as you know, they are isolated from the other databases and they are isolated from SQL Server instance. There's no login required to access the database. We can use the SQL Server user to access the contained database, and the applications can access the database independent SQL Server instance information. There are two prerequisites to create the contained database. Uh, Number one is that SQL Server needs to be configured before we can create the contained database, and the second, when the database we create the database, it needs to be configured as a contained database. So let's begin that. Let's configure the SQL Server so that it can support the contained database. So basically right click on the instance, select properties, go to the advanced tab, and under the containment, uh, set value to true for this property, enable contained databases, and click OK. Now the SQL Server has been configured to support the contained databases. Now let's create a contained database. Right click on databases, new database, and we'll create a database called my contained DB. Uh, Go to the option tab, and then in the containment type, select containment type to partial and click OK, and the database has been created. Now let's create a user within the database so that we can try accessing that user. So we'll create a new user, and we will select the user type SQL user with password, and we'll specify the username, and let's put a password, confirm the password, and click OK. So now the user has been created. Let's see if we can access the database with that user. So I'm going to connect to that instance using SQL Server authentication and specifying the username and the password. Also, we need to go to the options, and we'll have to specify the database name here, which was mycdb, and click connect. And as you can see, we are able to successfully connect to the database. Since the user is part of the database, now it is very easy to move the database from one instance to another. So let's do that. Before we do that, let me disconnect this connection, go back into this instance where we already have our database. So I'm gonna issue a backup command, backup database mycontained db to disk equals to SQL /backup directory, and mycdb backup file. So as you can see, we have successfully taken a backup. Let's restore a backup here. There is no database here. Let's restore the database. Let me just capture this. It will be easier. Restore database. We'll select the device, add file, and go to the options. Go to the files, relocate all the files to folder. Before we begin that, I forgot to mention that we also need to configure this instance to support the contained database, otherwise a restore will fail. Again, same thing, go to the instance properties, go to advanced and mark it true. Enable contain databases. We'll have to select the true value from there, from the drop down list. Click OK, and now we can restore our database. And as you can see, we have successfully restored the contained database. Now let's go and try connecting to that instance, to that database, to the contained database. We'll select the second instance here. We'll select SQL Server Authentication, user 1, QQQ, and in the options we have to specify our database name, which is mycontainedb, and click connect. And as you can see, we are able to connect, no issues like orphan users, and we are successfully able to connect to the contained database. That concludes the demo. Thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.